Hello and welcome to Inner Noise episode 5. Happy New Year if you are listening to this real time. I'm not sorry, but I think I'm a little bit disappointed that I only managed to get out 4 episodes at the end of last year after starting and releasing this idea. I think on reflection, I'm very, very keen not to give up on Inner Noise. But I think that I need to really reassess exactly what I'm doing here. I think I've got a great idea, and I think that I have much to say and stuff that I really want to share in this format, and definitely people that I want to share. But I think what I'm slightly concerned about is the balance between practicing, playing, performing, and recording. I was just absolutely max capacity by, the 25th of December, and I didn't actually stop working until the 29th, or the 30th, sorry, and I just didn't have any time at all to sit and do this or even think. And a lot of thought needs to go into these things before they're actually executed. So I think what I'm going to do is use really quiet periods to firstly know that those quiet periods are coming and bulk record interviews and then schedule them. And then I think also I need to think about if I actually have the capacity and the means to record videos as well as the actual audio, because the edit time is enormous. I actually have an interview that I haven't yet edited because it's just a huge amount of time that it takes, and I just don't have that time to sit down without taking from something else. So I think there's going to be a few changes, but what I am sure of is that I am committed to this, and I really want to just make some changes rather than kind of give up with it. Anyway, in the spirit of New Year, I thought what I would do is talk about what 2024 taught me in this episode. I think I've always been fascinated by the way that people think, create, and move through life. Even when I don't fully agree with someone's perspective or what they're doing, I think that just observing and listening to the way that somebody else sees the world can spark something, a thought, a question, or even kind of shift how I approach my own life. So that's just the spirit I'm bringing to this episode. I'm not here to offer advice, and I'm not talking from a place of authority or superiority. I'm just kind of navigating these things myself. And I just hope that in whatever way that it kind of could resonate with anyone listening, could make a new idea or just be like a moment to pause or reflect. So I'm not sure if this is a roundup of 2024. I think I might be talking a little bit about maybe things that happened during the year, but it's not like highs and lows or anything like that. It's just kind of ways I think that I'm reflecting and then stepping into 2025 essentially. So I wrote some questions down and then answered them, just based on like things I've been thinking about, because I'm not one for New Year's resolutions. I feel that sometimes it can be really, I'm not a big fan in general of the New Year celebration. It's not the pressure, I find like a lot of sadness attached to it some reason. And also I definitely have this feeling this year that just because it's month number 1 in the calendar year, things from last year feel like they still haven't ended, and they're kind of moving forward through into 2025. So it doesn't really feel like the start of anything. And I don't really have any resolutions, because I am the type of person that if I need to do something differently, I'm just gonna do it, rather than be like, okay, well, I'll wait until the first of the month to start it. So yeah, I mean, there's no need to wait, though I do appreciate that actually sometimes if it's something you're really, really putting off and something you really feel you want to change or do in your life, it's easy to start at the beginning of the year because there's that feeling of it being the right time. Anyway, so first question was, for myself, was what did 2024 teach me about the relationship between creativity and discipline? And I don't really know why I wrote this, because I actually ended up not answering it, but I think this is kind of along the lines of it. So the past year, well, not the full year of course, but from when I kind of started posting videos and content, I guess, online for other people, like with the idea that other people are going to be clicking it and actively consuming it, not like Instagram pictures or whatever. I have just received so many messages in general, so many more than usual about anything that I was doing, but a lot of people asking me how I manage what I do. So whether it be like workload or preparing for things or staying motivated or my practice schedule or anything, like lots of things like that. I think maybe because obviously my content is kind of following my life and what I'm doing. And then also I think because I do work a lot, and I don't literally mean working in terms of paid work, I mean working a lot on myself, my practice, my life in general, I think. And I know one thing I will say is that I know I have a good work ethic. And I think reflecting on this, I think my work ethic is rooted in grit, and just in this like enduring sense of possibility and belief that I think I've just felt from a really young age, that dreaming big is worth it. It's a little bit Disney, I think, but I've always believed that if I wanted something badly enough, I can just make it happen, and I just work in that way. I think one word that I think of is like hustler or grafter. Like I just am not afraid to put in the hard work, and I'm not a lazy person. I think every decision I make, whether it's about practice or organisation or seizing any opportunities, is fueled by this drive. But I think there is a flip side that I don't talk about. I think sometimes people say, I don't want to glamorize overworking, and I definitely don't want to do that. And I almost don't even want to mention that, because it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Because actually the way my brain works, if I'm being totally honest, is enough is never actually enough, and it is a relentless pursuit, which often feels less like discipline and more actually like compulsion. I think this balance is something that I'm really committed to addressing in 2025. For me, it's not about learning to say no. I can say no. It's more about defining boundaries for myself and understanding really when to stop, and recognizing that there is a cost to pushing too hard. And I actually don't know if I've truly found what that cost is yet, because like I said, I'm just able to, for whatever reason, just work relentlessly. Touch wood, quite literally. I actually didn't get sick in autumn at all. Like everyone came down with flu, everyone was unwell, and I just didn't get ill. I think overworking has kind of made me question, how do I see obstacles as productivity, if that makes any sense. And I'm also learning that discipline isn't just about effort, it's also about balance and sustainability. So I think I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate why people would like to know, because maybe and I'm also not saying that anyone that asks me this is lazy. I know so many self-employed musicians and creatives in general, it's all about self-motivation. But I also just wanted to say that actually, I guess the place that it comes from is probably not the best place. In some regard, it does have quite a negative flip side to it. So my next question to myself was, how did my music and art change this year? I'm not entirely sure how intentional this was, but I think that 2024 was a year of less creation and more reflection. So I spent a lot of time planning, observing myself and reevaluating priorities within what I do. And like I said, I'm not sure this is what I intended, but it became a year of kind of experimentation, trying, failing and learning. Now, as I move into 2025, I feel clear about what I want to create and how to approach it. The foundation is really kind of set, and I'm ready to move from planning to actually doing. But by this time next year, I'll be answering this question with tangible results. And I think that really fills me with purpose. So January 2026, I really want to re-answer this, because I think actually it will be a very different answer to the one I'm giving now. I actually remember moving into 2024 and just thinking, it wasn't that I thought, oh, what am I doing? It wasn't that feeling. It was just like, I felt this feeling that I just didn't really need to do anything. I just kind of needed to continue what I was doing. And so I didn't feel any need to like set any aims or anything. It was just about kind of moving and growing, I guess, in some ways. I couldn't really describe it, but I just didn't feel this sense of like urgency with anything or this need to do. It was more something internal. I don't really know. Nothing deep there. Just yeah, as I said. So then next question was, which failure or setback turned out to be a hidden gift? And I was sitting there and I was just thinking, every single one. I think rejection from the Banff residency, which I'm not sure I've spoken about on Inner Noise, but definitely on YouTube I've spoken about it. I spent so long applying for a residency at the Banff Centre for, well, it would have been now, for a project that I am still doing in 2025. And I just spent so much time on this application, and I just felt really good, and I felt like it was going to be accepted. Then I applied for funding for it, and I was really worried and nervous about that because, of course, you just never know. And also, it was my first time applying for a lot of money for funding from one kind of body or organisation. And basically what happened was I got rejected from the residency, and then I actually received all of the funding to go. And I was the only person to receive the funding as well. And it was just, oh gosh. I remember a friend at the time saying to me, you need to celebrate that you got that funding, but I just couldn't because I didn't care, because I wasn't going on the residency. And I just said to myself, you know what, you're still going to do it. Now it's just going to be hard, but actually so much has always been really hard. So I just thought, just keep going, I just really wanted that time to just absolutely devote myself to this project and not have any distractions. And now I'm not going to have that. And so it is just going to make it harder. And also a lot of the work and the recording would have been done at this residency. And now I'm also going to have to fund that and work on that myself. And it's just really, really tough. And I think it was really hard. But I think what it has done is made what's something that was just going to be in January of 2025 into the whole of 2025. And it means also that I'm focused not only on recording, but also making it into like a video project as well. So it feels maybe that it's something bigger, and maybe I will remember it better because it will be the whole of my year rather than just 1 month of it. So that was that. I think that another thing is, I went and auditioned for the New York Ballet, obviously not as a dancer, as a harpist. And the strangest thing is that I knew before I went that I wasn't going to get the job. But I think pushing myself and preparing preparing really hard and doing my best and just working at a really, really high level just teaches you so much about your ability, your work ethic, your determination, your actual skill level. And then going and getting on a plane and being in a city and auditioning in somewhere you don't know, and it being for something so prestigious, it fills you with hope of what your true capacity is. And so even though that failure was something I kind of knew was going to happen anyway, it just didn't stop me. And I think also it's I've said this to quite a few colleagues and friends, is that I think it's always worth auditioning sometimes if you feel like, well, number one, could I do that job and could I live there? And I was like, yeah, I could. And then I also think as well, it allows you to just maintain this idea of where you're at with other people, because I think once you've finished studying, and of course it's a really competitive industry, you have to maintain a standard of playing. So I think particularly at that time, because what I've noticed also, maybe I'll talk about this some other time, is that after graduating, through when I was studying, I was always maintaining a really, really high standard. And I think that now I think I am better than when I was studying, because of course I got more experience and I've had more time to play, more time to practice. But I think that what I've noticed in my freelance career is that it dips sometimes I'm not playing quite as well, but I think at that moment in time I was actually playing really, really well, which maybe the prior audition to that I wasn't playing as well, and definitely not recently I've been playing not as well also. But I think it's okay, you can't maintain through your life like this absolute best. If we think of live recordings of lots of different artists and musicians, and even art itself, you can see that there's big fluctuations in what is being taken care of in the music making at those times. It's hard to maintain this like absolute highest standard. Sometimes I listen to some, I think especially pianists, because usually their output is massive, but you can go to a concert and think, I didn't really enjoy that, like their sound wasn't great, or I don't feel like their musicianship, they were really like listening, let's say. But then on the contrary, you can listen to an album of their music and think, oh my goodness, like this is the best sound I've heard, or wow, like no one can bring out a melody quite like them, And I guess some of it's edited, but I mean also that in terms of concerts too, sometimes their energy levels are just low. So what was I saying there? Yeah, I think that kind of rejection, going back to the rejection that was a kind of rejection I knew was coming, I think it does give you so much, and it makes you realise so much. Oh, I've just realised that's where that point was going, is that hearing others play when you're out of conservatoire, at auditions or competitions or whatever, you can either look at it and go, oh gosh, I'm so rubbish compared to them, or oh my god, they're so amazing, what am I going to do? Or you can just say to yourself, well, actually I'm really strong here, but I'm not so strong there. Or you can just say, you know what, actually I sound just as good, I've got the same chance as them, politics aside, So yeah, that's my thoughts there. Sorry, I kind of thought I was going somewhere and then I came back to the original point, but I hope you all followed that. I think that, each setback has given me tools to move forward, ultimately with greater clarity and resilience. Okay, next question. What piece of art felt like a mirror this year? And I think I wrote this because I have just been indulging in so much art this year in different ways. And I was like, oh, what piece of art would summarise 2024? But actually, it's just so hard to pick one, because there's just been so many different periods of 2024. So I think what I did was I chose a piece of art that I discovered in 2024 and felt like it really kind of reflected me or my time during the year somehow. And the piece of art that I chose was Claude Monet's Water Lilies Setting Sun. It just felt like, I don't want to say a reflection of me, it sounds a bit strange. I think I'm just going to stick with what I just said before I named the piece of art. There's a shadow and a darkness in it, but the light just really prevails, and I think it's the colour of the light against the darkness of the green. It's like glowing and triumphant and undeniable, and I think the interplay of the colours, especially the vibrance of the purple and pink tones and yellows against the deeper green tones, just kind of mirrors something within me. Think, gosh, so much exists because of contrast, not despite it. Anyway, you can read in between the lines of all of that, and I'll leave that bit there. Okay, next question. What did silence teach me? Silence taught me perspective. It just reminded me the vastness of the world and the richness of life. I think if I'm thinking of particular silent moments, it'll probably be driving with no music on and just kind of being in a little capsule on the road, you know. And then I think also it's being in really like open landscapes, thinking of like Wales or Scotland, or where else have I been? Been so many places, like being on the beach. I think that there's just so much to experience and to like laugh about, to like really savour. And I think that silence helps you really think deeply, to realise that there's more to life than the noise of material things or like fleeting trends, and makes you think about people you really love and care about. There's just so many landscapes to explore, poems to read, wine to drink, and good food to share. And I think in the silence of life, where you can find it, you always find gratitude for the things that really matter. And I think that is truly beautiful. Anyway, is this my final point? Let me just scroll. My gosh, I've got pins and needles from the way I'm sat. Hang on. How did my perception of success evolve this year? So, is this something I'm still working on? Probably. It's not an easy thing to evolve your perception of success. I think success for me is no longer about external validation or meeting kind of expectations of others, and not getting absorbed in what others are doing and what they want. I want everything to align with my growth as a musician, as a creative, and as a person. I think success can be anything. It can be a house, a child, a job, you know, in an orchestra. It can be walking the lengths of the UK coastal paths. But I think ultimately it's just really personal. And I think you can have a house, be married, have a child, have £2 million in your bank account, but not feel like you're experiencing success. And I think for me, success is ending the day knowing I tried to make it meaningful, even if I didn't fully succeed at that particular time. It's like moving in steps. It's about effort, intention, and making small steps that lead to bigger things. So this is the final question. What's the biggest risk I took creatively this year? So I think biggest risk was probably stopping, probably pausing to ask myself what is for, in inverted commas, them, and what is for me. It was risky to slow down, resist the urge to constantly produce. But in that space, I did find so much clarity for myself. I think I've taken risks in doing things my own way. And while it's challenging, it feels right. I think closing off the noise of others is really hard and something you kind of have to keep doing. it's not something you just choose once and then you just continue to do, because of course we are inspired by others, and I think that there's a level of arrogance that could creep in if you just are self-focused. But I think just trying to decide what is best for me and what I should be doing and what fuels me and what makes my life good, and of course what makes me feel good. And I think that's that. I don't really have anything else to add. I'm going to do another episode that's kind of New Year themed, or around this kind of time of the year anyway, and that's going to be about art that I consumed in 2024. But I hope that this has been a warm and inviting episode and I hope that it fills people's cups. Oh, I've actually forgotten something. For 2025, what do I want to leave behind and embrace? That's a good way to finish the episode, isn't it? So last year I had some words to keep in mind throughout the year, and this year I've done the same. So my words of 2025 are joy, rest and output. So joy, the reason I chose joy, not happiness or happy or a word similar to that, is I don't want fleeting happiness, but the kind of joy that you just find good in everything, even the smallest moments. And I think making that a priority. Rest, because I'm not going to have a restful year necessarily, but true rest where my feet's up, my mind is calm, and I give myself permission to pause, because I don't do that, and I would like to do that. And then output, because this year will be my year of sharing, of letting my work be seen and heard authentically, and not for validation, but because it feels like it's time. So I'm actually just going to leave the episode on that. I hope you enjoyed. Come back again soon. And if you are wanting some more kind of content, you want to listen to some videos of mine, or watch some videos of mine rather, you can have a look at my Instagram, where I promote my videos mostly with little short reels on a Sunday, and that is at @GJonesHarp. Anyway, bye bye.